America versus Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, aka P. Diddy, aka Diddy, aka PD, aka Love. No matter what you want to call him, it's not looking good. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore. We are live and the charges are in. We have the indictment as well as Christopher Melcher and it's Kim are both here. Thank you both for being here to break this down. All right, so Mr. Melcher, the indictment is here. We were speaking about this last night. You gave a lot of fantastic info. You've already read it. Can you give us sort of a broad view of your initial reaction to this? What do you think? Are you feeling confident? Are you feeling surprised? What are your initial reactions to this?
Well, they're explosive allegations. There's not as much detail in there as I was thinking they might have done. Sometimes they'll file what's called a speaking indictment with a lot of facts and really long kind of narration of what happened to make it clear like they got the goods. Here, this is more of a classic indictment, which just gives the basic information that Diddy needs to understand about what he's being charged with. So what is the federal offense? And a basic summary of what they think happened. So here, they're alleging that Diddy was involved in a global enterprise. So we're talking, you know, across the world of recruiting women to
we got to be careful how we say it.
yeah.
Adult activities.
In adult activities against their will, and using his power to kind of entice them into this arrangement, at least initially. So, hey, enter the web, and then he would insist, again, this is all an allegation, but insist that they would perform certain activities that were against their will, that caused injury to them, and when they attempted to withdraw, that he threatened them, punished them, hurt them. So this is now a trafficking enterprise that they're alleging. They did say that kidnapping was one of the acts. So I got to imagine that's the Cassie video that we saw. So kidnapping is this movement of somebody against their will. Sometimes
could it mean more than that? Could it be more examples that they're not? Do they have to show all their evidence now?
Correct. Yeah. So they didn't go through line and verse and say on this date, time, and place, a kidnapping occurred, and that would allow us to know, oh, they're talking about Cassie. So they did mention kidnapping, but they didn't say who the victim was or give any other way of identifying who that victim was. So it could be her. It could be more than her that they're talking about. So basically, we're talking about force and coercion. I mean, these are horrible things that he's accused of. And certainly the prosecutor's taken their time. We saw the raids of his home happen quite a while ago, relatively speaking. And so they would have taken their time. They would have talked to witnesses. They would have gotten corroboration. Because clearly the frontline defense for the celeb or powerful person is to saying, these people were engaged in consensual activities with me. They're just looking for a payday. That's what he said about Cassie when we first heard about her making allegations of abuse. So then we know that he lied about that and actually did those things. So here it's going to be difficult because I think he's lost credibility, at least in my mind, because of how he denied that Cassie allegation. But I'm sure he'll make allegations like that. He'll say this was all consensual activity. These people are changing their story after the fact. But the indictment says that many of these things were recorded. So we're going to now have the freak-offs potentially recorded evidence that was seized. We don't know this, but it's possible that the feds seized the recordings when they went into his house and maybe talked to other people. And if they have the recordings that show that these were non-consensual activities, he's done.
Hey, I said it yesterday, hold on to your butts, folks. Never thought Christopher Melcher and I would be reporting on the freak-offs, Kim, but it looks like it's going to happen, and it's wild. And I mean, I'm trying to make light just because that's so depressing, but do you think a lot of people are sweating today, Chris? Like, is this something where this is the opening of a worms where more people, if they haven't already spoken, might be like, crap, this is the real deal now. I need to start being careful. What are your thoughts? Is this going to reverberate through the industry?
Well, he's the only one charged in this indictment, which is also something unique. With the regular play for the feds is to, again, take their time. They work up the chain. They get the lower level people to flip on the higher level people. We've all seen this before. Now, some people won't flip, and those people who won't cooperate will be charged. Look at Matthew Perry's case. Remember, we saw that. There was the ketamine queen was part of this thing. So and a couple doctors. So people who do not cooperate get charged. So here, since he's the only one who's charged, that would lead me to believe that there have been people who have cooperated, and as a result of that, at least at this point, are not been charged. And that's going to make it even more difficult for him, because if other people who participated, and the indictment says that high-level employees of the Diddy enterprise were involved in facilitating, arranging, and were present during some of these activities. So the fact that those people aren't named in the indictment would lead me to believe that they've cooperated. And again, if we have electronic recordings, if we have the victims saying that this happened, if we have his former employees saying it happened, it is going to be very difficult for him to get his way out of this one.
There's a press conference happening in a little bit. What do you expect in that? Will there be more than this? Is that just an opportunity to sort of present what they've already put out there to the press? What should we expect to come next?
Yeah, that's difficult, because the prosecutor does have a duty here, and so they're even though their aim here is to gain a conviction, they have to do that fairly. So, pretrial publicity is a problem, and that could undercut Diddy's right to a fair trial. It could influence potential jurors, so they have to be very careful what they say. I would imagine if they had a lot of detail, it would have been safer for the prosecutor to have put that in the indictment, that so-called speaking indictment, because there's a charging document. It is a court filing. They can't really be criticized for what they put in a court filing, and it acts basically as a press release. So for the prosecutors to come out and give a lot of extra detail on that, sure, they might, but I would question the fairness of that. Because why do that in a press conference? Why not do that in a court-filed document? So we'll see. Now, look, Diddy is presumed to be innocent. He carries that presumption with him in the United States. So we have to honor and observe that. And also don't count him out, even though I'm saying this really looks bad for him. But we have seen cases turn on a dime before, cite Alec Baldwin. So we don't know. We don't know who these are. I think Cassie certainly is genuine and reliable, and we all know what happened. We saw it in our own eyes on that tape. But if there aren't convincing evidence like that for some of these other cases, maybe these other victims or witnesses are not reliable or can be impeached with something out there, he might be able to mix this up. But again, it's not like they rushed. If they would have raided his house and filed charges the next day, I'd be saying, hey, this looks like they're just hunting for something and they haven't put the time and effort into it. Here, I mean, they took their time on this one. So I got to think the odds are against him.
Kim, any questions for Mr. Melcher?
I did just want to ask, there's a number of charges that are listed in the indictment under California law. What exactly happens with that? Is that going to be potentially state charges, or how does that factor in to the federal indictment?
Sure. So this is a federal case. So in the United States, you have the ability for the state to charge, like with Cassie. If that had been reported timely, the people of the state of California could have filed state charges against Diddy. That time has passed. This is a federal case, and for this type of racketeering and trafficking charges, what they are looking at are what are called predicate offenses. So there's a list of offenses that they've named in the indictment that could be violations of state law that taken together can now form proof of a criminal enterprise. So that's why they're thinking about or mentioning things about assault and kidnapping that normally would be a state or local prosecutor bringing those charges. Here they're saying the real charge is racketeering or trafficking. That's what he's being charged with. But they're saying that he committed that enterprise, that engaged in that enterprise by engaging in these offenses. So I don't expect that there's going to be local charges. I think this is the one he's facing. I've also was looking at the federal sentencing guidelines, and that is a very complex manual to go through to look at the potential charges. They do have a sentencing enhancement here because some of this trafficking they're alleging was done by force or coercion, and that could be over a 10-year federal sentence. And again, there's multiple counts here, so I wasn't able to kind of nail this down exactly what the guideline would be, but it looks like it could be over 10 years. The other thing is they added a forfeiture condition. That's something we talked about in the stream last night. So they're not only going after Diddy's person to put him in prison for a long time, they also want to take Diddy's money and property. So they're saying that as a result of engaging or operating this enterprise that he profited. And so they're now wanting to forfeit or take all of that property, money, whatever, that they allege that he gained as a result of this enterprise. And so that's a double blow that he's now facing.
Okay.
So
Further,
go ahead.
sorry, I was just going to ask as well, further to that, because this does have to do with the money, because it has like the way that it was accumulated, would potentially any, let's say, business management or accounting firm that would be associated with Diddy potentially be under investigation at this time, or would that factor into this investigation whatsoever?
Sure. So definitely his bookkeepers, accountants, advisors, they'll be contacted for records and to establish the flow of money and the sources of that money. Now, I don't know that your average accountant or lawyer would know the sources here, the ill-gotten sources or alleged ill-gotten sources of his money. It just depends on how close that relationship is and what their involvement might be. So simply just doing his books or tax returns isn't going to be enough. And also, I think they're going to have a very difficult time with that allegation because there are certainly legitimate streams of income. I mean, we've known of Diddy as, Diddy. I mean, it's like he's making money monetizing his brand, which is perfectly legal. And so the government's going to have to establish the difference between the legal stream of income that he's received all these years versus money that he's made from the trafficking operation. And I do question that based on reading the indictment. One of the allegations is he did these things for his own gratification. They said that was the motivation. Well, if that's the motivation, then it doesn't sound like a money-making operation. It sounds like a self-pleasing operation. So I do see some inconsistency in that indictment in that respect.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, interesting insight. We have lots more coming. The press conference, guys, is starting at 11:30. So if you're just tuning in, you haven't missed anything except for Christopher's amazing analysis. But more information coming. And we are going to do our own read through of the document. I just wanted, while we had Christopher, pick his brain and get some of this insight out because he's the expert. He's read it. And as we go through it, we'll have some more insight than we would have otherwise. Anything else to add, Christopher? Anything else that you think we should expect coming up?
No, I mean, I imagine he spent the night in jail. We're not clear on that. But normally what was supposed to happen was an arranged turnover. So he came to New York showing his cooperation and was supposed to come in today to turn himself in. And when that happens, when the indictment there is handed down, he gets arraigned. So he's told by the court what the charges are, and then terms of release are determined. And so in a well kind of oiled operation, he could be in and out within an hour. So, the booking and the release could happen within an hour, certainly within 3 hours. Something happened last night. We don't know what it was, where the feds accelerated that, went into his hotel room, arrested him, and actually searched the room. Now, he could have potentially been brought before a magistrate last night and dealt with all that stuff. But they don't have to do that because it was after hours. They would have to bring him to a magistrate today. So my guess is he spent the night in jail.
Is there going to be a mugshot?
Yeah, so he has to be booked, and part of that is a mugshot, and that is a public record.
Okay, so we'll know that. I mean, all that stuff sort of hasn't come out yet. I imagine within the day or so that stuff journalist people will get that updated. But people were asking, and I was curious. I imagine the press conference may also reveal whether he's in custody or where, et cetera, are probably details that they'll say. Correct?
Yeah. I mean that. Normally when the government is essentially making an appointment to arrest somebody, that's the terms of release would definitely be part of that discussion. So if a bond was required, if he had to post any property to secure his attendance in court, that would already been determined and worked out. Now, again, something happened last night to upset that process, so they may be fighting in court today about what the terms of the release are. It appears to me that he would show up in court because he's cooperated this far. He hasn't fled the country, and he actually went to New York to turn himself in this morning. So it doesn't appear that he is a flight risk because he would have left already. And so the next factor on the release is he a danger to the community? And ordinarily you would think that he would not be doing anything to get into any further trouble or have any further allegations made against him, I should say. But again, something weird happened last night to accelerate that, so we might hear about that in the press conference, and that might impact his conditions of release.
Yeah, there was. They did adjust that as I was looking for the headline, and there's a lot to go through. But yeah, they adjusted it. However, U.S. Attorney Damon Williams says federal agents took him in based on a sealed indictment filed by the New York. Is that just damage control? They're trying to dampen it, or is that do you think that deflation could mean that it really was the plan?
I don't. It doesn't make any sense to me because there's two ways this basically goes down. And in most cases, the federal government does not announce to the defendant or the defendant's attorney that they're going to go arrest this person. They just go in and do it. And so here, they figured the guy wasn't a flight risk. He wasn't going to commit crimes and do all this stuff. And they just said, hey, come on in, turn yourself in Tuesday morning. And that's like an orderly process because the courts are open. And so they can bring him before a magistrate and they get it done in one day. So he doesn't have to spend the night in jail. To go in there on a Monday night when he's already been in Manhattan for, days before, ready for this Tuesday morning turnover, indicates to me that something happened to change the mind of the prosecutors to say that it was not safe to leave him in that hotel room, that there was either he was going to flee or he's going to commit crimes, dissuade witnesses, destroy evidence. Something like that must have happened. So again, all speculation at this point, but a little odd the way that changed up.
All right, guys, we just watched the press conference. We also went through the indictment itself. It is shocking. In fact, so shocking, I wanted to make another video detailing, to me, the most insane part of this, which is the confirmation of the freak-offs, which the feds have just admitted are real. Not only are they real, but they're on tape. Thousands of bottles of lotion that they found that the assistants have to keep on hand for Diddy. Guys, it is getting uglier and uglier. If you want to watch this full stream, you can become a member. Some of the stuff can't be as public because YouTube doesn't let us say the certain keywords. But join today, watch the full stream. You can see the full press conference, have us read the indictment. But right now, I'm going to push you over to part 2 of this conversation. We were going to talk about this new letter that just came in with more specific, this declaration letter, as well as more of this indictment and this revelation of the freak-offs. So make sure to join us on the next part of this. Spread these videos. This is important stuff. The algorithm's not pushing us today, but this is an incredibly important story. This man is a monster, in my opinion, and we are not going to stop. We're going to keep you posted. In fact, make sure, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for alerts, smash that like button, and leave a comment down below. When you become part of the squad, of the notification squad, you get those notifications, click them to make sure you get them. We appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you're supporting It's Kim as well. She'll be live covering this throughout the week. There's a lot more to talk about, so don't go anywhere, live viewers. Join us for part 2. We're going to redirect you and paste the link in the comment. Swing on over, join the conversation. Nate the lawyer should be joining, and more.